I'm super excited to be here today, not only because it's always fun to be at MetaStock events. It's so well organized. It's fun to listen to Jeffrey and all the amazing speakers throughout the event. So this is one reason why I'm excited, but there's another reason actually, because we have just now released our latest generation for our Power Bundle, which basically just this week, and you are the first ones to see it from MetaStock. It has not been published anywhere else, not been presented anywhere, not even internally to our own group. This is the first time we're announcing it to the world, and I'm very excited to talk about this today. And to honor this big announcement, we also have a very complicated title today for this presentation. It's called Market Hacking and Self-Optimizing Indicators. Fish your odds before entering a trade. It's a mouthful, I know, and probably have to work on maybe making it a bit simpler in the future, but we're going to dissect this title together today, because every single word in here, like market hacking, has a meaning, optimization has a meaning, knowing your odds. So everything has its place of what I'm going to present today. And if you're wondering if you don't know what phishing means, like spelled like this, of PH, it's a term used, in cybersecurity or in the hacking community, and it denotes the action of using illegal tricks to extract personal information from someone. This could be your online banking password, for example, or your credit card number. Now, what we're going to do today, of course, will be completely legal, but we're trying to see if we can extract some secret information about the market, which will help us make better trading decisions. This is why we use that term fish, because, it's somewhat hidden, but we're going to show you today how it can be done to give you an advantage in your trading. All right, so let's get started. But before I dive into the market, let's talk about poker. It's early morning, maybe a bit too early to start right with trading. Let's look at something easy first to break the ice. So I'm sure most of you have seen a poker broadcast in the past, either on the internet or on TV, and typically it looks like this. So you can see the remaining players in the hand. In this case, there are 2 players left. 4 cards have been dealt. The 5th card is yet to be dealt. And before this card is shown, each player has the chance to wager, depending on how confident he is to win this pot. And if he's confident, he would wager more. If he's not very confident, he perhaps would wager less or fold altogether. Now, what you can also see here is the odds for each player to win this hand. But these odds are not known to the actual players. They're only shown on TV for the viewers. But the players don't know it. And the reason why they don't know it is because they don't know what the other player's hand is, what the cards are. If, however, the player would know it, for example, because it's a card cheat or a fraud, he could calculate these odds. And guess what? Let's just imagine for 1 second, if this was possible, how would you play poker? What would you do? Of course, you would only wager or wager big if the odds are in your favor, and perhaps fold if the odds are not in your favor. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to win this hand, but in the long run, you're going to have a statistical advantage over the other player, and you will win the tournament in the long run. All right, so we're thinking, is it possible perhaps to apply the very same concept to the world of trading? So for example, is it possible to pre-calculate before entering a trade what the odds are of winning the next trade, again, before entering into it? Now, this is the question we've been investigating over many years now, and today I'm going to show you our latest finding about this topic. And in other words, if you knew as a trader what the odds are of having a successful trade before entering it, what would you do? And I believe the answer is quite clear again. You would only take the trade if the odds are in your favor, and you would not take the trade if the odds are against you. And sometimes not taking a trade is the best trading advice that you can get. All right. So, and what we're going to reveal today is our latest generation of our Power Bundle 360, which is a set of 3 self-aware trading indicators which use intelligence to predict the odds of your next trade. And this all happens before you will enter the trade. All right, so I hope you're all psyched up, and let's get started on this presentation. Now, before I get started, maybe a few words about who I am. As Jeffrey mentioned, my name is Daniel Sinek, and I'm the managing partner of tradingindicators.com, which is our online store. Now, on our online store, you'll find all kinds of nice trading products, such as indicators, as the name suggests, but you also find trading tools and other things like dashboards, for example. But I should mention that my career actually did not start in trading. I'm actually a software engineer by training. My objective was for the longest time to become a university professor. And I went through all the loops that you have to go. I went did all the degrees. I did my PhD here in Canada at Montreal. I was teaching various courses in software engineering. I did research in software engineering. I even have a Radio Professor profile. So if you're interested in seeing how my former students have ranked me, mostly quite well, sometimes a bit more, questionable. You can check out my profile at ratemyprofessor.com. Just simply look for my name, Sinek, and you'll see it. But while I was at university and doing research in software engineering, I was always fascinated by the world of trading. And so I started trading myself, mostly on the site. And of course, when you start off, you make all the beginner mistakes. At least I did. I overtraded. I took too much risk. I revenge traded. I held on to losing trades for too long. You name it, I've probably done it. And after donating quite a bit of money to the market, I came to the hard realization, man, trading is hard and I need help. And for me as a software engineer, needing help meant I need better trading tools. So I started programming. I started writing trading tools which would help me personally in my own trading. And this is really how the story behind tradingindicators.com started. Most of the tools in our online store, they actually were first developed for our own trading. And only once we found them useful for ourselves, we broadcasted them on our store, we published them there in the hope that they will become useful for other traders as well. So in the beginning, it was mostly me who wrote all these different indicators and strategies, but by now we do have a great team which consists of UX designers, software engineers, traders, mathematicians. And our mission really is to build helpful tools, intelligent tools, which will help you to make better trading or investment decisions. We not only offer indicators, we also now offer dashboards, smart apps, automated strategies, scanners, and so forth. And two of my colleagues and partners are today online as well, Homa and Niklas. And if you have any questions, please make sure you write them in the chat, because Homa and Niklas will be manning the chat and they will look out for any questions and get back to you and perhaps bring them to my attention if needed. So don't be shy. The more questions, the better it is. All right. So let's get started. Perhaps really quick, the disclaimer. Jeffrey already mentioned it for Metastock, but from our end as well. As you know, trading is risky and not for everyone. If you trade, make sure you only risk capital, which is defined as capital that if you lose it, should you lose it, it will not affect your lifestyle. Now, when it comes to backtest results or hypothetical performance, keep in mind that these are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Okay, so with this being said, let's get started. I'm just going to switch off my camera because I want you to see the entire chart and all the examples that we have in full resolution, because it's going to make it a bit easier. Okay. Now, a little bit of a preview of what's going to happen. This is going to be my trade suggestion of the day, the trade that I will consider taking today. It's for Ford Motors, and I'm considering going long Ford at market price, depending on how the market opened this morning, with target at 15.95 and stop loss at 12.69. And we're going to discover together how I identified this trade using our Power Bundle 360 and using Metastock. So this is just a bit of a preview of what to expect at the end of this presentation. Now, so this is what we're gonna do. And but before we do this, let me go back to our original question, which was: is it possible to pre-calculate the odds of your next trade before entering it? Now, we have come up to tackle this problem with a technology which we call instant efficiency technology, or IET in short, which will calculate directly on the chart, or in case of Metastock, in your XBET commentary window, what the odds are, or what the odds have been, what the odds have been, historically speaking, for your long entries and for your short entries. So for example, in this case, the odds would tell you that historically speaking, long trades have been 91.67% successful and short trades have been 87.5% successful. So now, let's say you knew these odds, which are based on historical data. What can you do with it? And the next question would be, well, since these odds are based on backtest results, they're based on historical data, how useful are these odds in fact? Because you hear it all the time. Historical performance is not necessarily indicative of future performance. So that's probably a reason for this to have this in the disclaimer. So why should you trust these odds that they're actually going to have some predictive power for moving into the future, since they're based on historical data? And of course, we also were skeptical at first. So we start investigating. And we came to the conclusion, I'm going to tell you in a second why that is, that these odds, even though they are built on historical data, they do have predictive power. And we do believe that they will help you in the end to make truly informed trading decisions. You would only take a trade if the odds are in your favor, and you would avoid the trade if the odds are against you. And as mentioned before, sometimes not taking a trade is the best trading advice that you can get. Now, so why do we believe this? Why did we come to this conclusion that these odds actually do have predictive power? Well, we've done some research. So we went back to the drawing board, we went back to our lab, and we conducted a very comprehensive back test just to prove our point. And what we've done is we had created, for the sake of this disproving, a swing trading system, which was running on the 1 hour chart. And we let it run from the beginning of 2022, from January 2022, up until the end of October. The average trade duration, because this being a swing trading system, was about 1 week. So each trade lasted more or less 1 week. And it was not just focused on one particular asset, but we tested across 84 big US stocks, such as Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, IBM, and so forth. And over the course of this back test, 6,827 entry signals, both long and short, were generated. And then we look at the results. So we look at the result as a portfolio. What if we had traded all these signals at the same time? Now, and he was our initial finding. Well, so as you can see, had we taken every single trade signal, so 6,827 signals resulting in 6,827 trades, this would have been the performance. And we call this the unfiltered performance because we would have taken every single signal, no matter what. Doesn't look very good, doesn't look very promising. It's a losing system. Not great. But then we rerun our back test. And this time around, we only took the signals where our historical statistics at the time of the signal were in our favor. And this was the result. It's a difference of day and night. We call this, we only took the sweet spot trades. The trades where the historical statistics at the time of the signal, not at the end of the whole back test, because that would be cheating, but at the time of the signal, if these statistics were in our favor, we took the trade, and if not, we avoided the trade. So this resulted of that about 2/3 of all trades were filtered out, and we only took 1/3 of the trades, which we call the sweet spot trades. And the performance has been significantly better than before. If you contrast this to this, it's a big difference. And this gave us a lot of confidence that we were on the right track, that our statistics, even though based on historical data, do have predictive power moving forward. All right, so back to what we now have done with these statistics. So we actually have integrated the stats into our set of indicators, which we now brand as the Power Bundle 360. And we do hope that with the help of these indicators and these stats, you will now have all the tools that you need to make truly informed trading decisions before you enter the trade, obviously. And these 3 indicators are combined in our Power Bundle 360. And we call it the 360 because it gives you a 360 of the entire market. Not only it covers every market condition from trending markets to reversing markets to sideways markets, but also caters to different trading styles. So whether you're a trend following trader or a reversal trader or perhaps a breakout trader, you will find an indicator in our package that will suit your trading style. Now, what are these indicators? So our first one is called 1, 2, 3 strike. This is our trend following indicator. And that will give you an entry signal if a strong trend is identified. And the strong trend is identified when three things come together, which is directionality, volatility, and increased volume. And if all these things come together, a signal is given. So this is for 1, 2, 3 strike. The second indicator is divergence cloud. Now, as the name suggests, divergence, what's based on divergence. And if you're familiar with the concept, divergence is a telltale sign that a trend reversal or a pullback might be imminent. Now, we have based our divergence cloud indicator on a very unique form of divergence, which is called volatility momentum divergence. It's been developed in our lab. It's proprietary to our approach, and it basically contrasts price action or price movement with underlying volatility. And if there's a discrepancy, we have either bullish or bearish divergence. And how this looks on the chart, we're going to discover in just a second. And then indicator number 3 is called volatility crusher, an indicator designed to identify strong breakouts. And we consider a breakout as strong if it's lasting, meaning that price will continue in the direction of the breakout for quite some time longer. And we as traders can take advantage of this because you would enter simply in the direction of the breakout to take advantage of this. All right. And as mentioned before, all of these 3 indicators come with our proprietary IET or instant efficiency technology, which will show you directly in Metastock without having the need to conduct a system test, the backtest statistics, the success statistics, historically speaking. Now, how does this work? So let's just switch over to Metastock. So I'm going to open up a Metastock chart. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to drag it into my window. And we're going to start with a chart, a daily chart of Align Technology. And it's a daily chart. And what we can see here is that 1, 2, 3 strike, our trend following indicator, has been applied to the chart. And the first thing you probably notice are these greenish and reddish candle coloring. These are indication to you of whether we're currently in an uptrend or we are currently in a downtrend. It's as simple as this. In addition to the candle coloring, you also see these bigger arrows on the chart, which are either, if they are green or long entries, or if they are reddish and downward facing, they are short entries. So these are indications for you of whether a strong uptrend or a strong downtrend has been identified, and you may want to enter into this trend direction. In addition to every entry, the indicator also comes with exit suggestions. These are these smaller arrows here, as you can see. This is basically when you should close out the trade. And sometimes for an entry, we have multiple exit suggestions. This all can be configured in the parameters of this indicator. And for example, here for this short entry, we have one partial exit here, one partial exit here, and another partial exit here. This is where you would book your profits to take some risk off the market. And here we have another example for a short entry with a partial exit, another partial exit, a partial exit here, and finally our final exit at this point. And if I just zoom in a little bit, you probably can see that the partial exit are called SPE, short partial exit. And once we're completely done, we're closing out the position, we can see SFE, short final exit. This is how we denote the different exits in our trading system. All right, and we can also see one last example that we just recently, this is a daily chart, in September, we had a short entry for this symbol. And we're still in this trade. We had 3 partial exit already, all in profit, and we're now waiting for the final exit to close out this trade. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3 strike. But there's one thing I haven't shown you yet, the statistics. So how can we see these in Metastock? For this, you simply need to open up the expert commentary. And you can do this by right-clicking on the chart, go to Expert Advisor, and go to Commentary. This will open up a little sub panel we can see here. And one of the very first items that you see is our instant efficiency statistics. And here you can see how well, historically speaking, our trade signals have been working out. We can see, for example, that for our long trades, 63% of the signals have been winners. And for our short trades, 73% of the short trades have been winners. And this will give you, as a trader, very important information, because you would only enter into a trade if the odds are in your favor. And if the odds are bad, perhaps you have efficiency rating of less than 50% or less than 40%, you would just not follow the signal. Why would you? It hasn't been working out in the past, so chances are it will not work out in the future as well. So just ignore it. Contrary, if a signal has been working out nicely in the past, chances are it will continue to work out, and you might consider following these signals. So just in this case, we also can see that short trades in our look back period have been working out better than long trades. And as you can also take advantage of this information. Perhaps you would only follow the short trades and maybe not so much the long trades. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3 strike. But let me move on to our next indicator, which is divergence cloud. So for this, I will switch over to a different chart. In this case, it's going to be First Republic. Again, it's a daily chart, and all the examples I'm going to be giving today are for the daily chart. It doesn't mean that our indicators only work on the daily chart. In fact, they work on any time frame, any asset class, and any chart type. So, but just for the case of this example, I'm only going to focus on the daily chart, but you can easily also use our indicators on the intra-day timeframes. Okay, so here we have a daily chart of First Republic Bank, and our divergence cloud indicator is applied to the chart. Probably the first thing that you will notice is that we also do have some candle coloring. Let me just zoom in a little bit. It's a bit bigger. So we have candle coloring, and we have this little ribbon below the chart. And if you look carefully, the coloring and the ribbon color always match up. And this is by design. And in this case, the candle coloring does not denote trend, as we had with 1, 2, 3 strike. Instead, it denotes divergence. And if the candle coloring is greenish, it denotes bullish divergence. And if the candle or ribbon coloring is reddish, it denotes bearish divergence. And some traders, they purely use this candle coloring as a filter for their own trading system. For example, they would only consider a long trade if it also coincides with bullish divergence, or they would only take a short trade if at the same time we have bearish divergence. So this can be used very nicely as an additional filter for your own trading system. Nonetheless, divergence could also come with its own signals, and similarly to 1, 2, 3 strike, the bigger arrows denote entries. For example, here we have a long entry, and the bigger red arrows denote short entries. And again, we also have our partial exit. So here, for example, we had a long entry with 1, 2, 3, 4 partial exit up until the final exit here. Same for this short entry here. We had 1 short entry and 1, 2 partial exits. And then we would close out the position when a signal in the opposite direction comes along. And of course, also divergence cloud comes with its own statistics. And here we can see, for example, that historically speaking, for our look back period, 78% of our long trades have been successful, and 78% of the short trades, quite similar, have been successful. And so it worked quite nicely in both directions. All right, so our third indicator is volatility crusher. So let me open up yet another chart, which is ADM, Archer Daniels. And here we have volatility crusher applied to the chart. And it looks a little bit different from the other indicators. So let me just explain to you how this one works. So for this indicator, volatility crusher, we again have our long entries, the bigger arrows, or short entries. But for this one, we only have 2 profit targets. So this is hard-coded, and this is by design, because in our research, we determined that, letting a breakout trade continue for too much longer is not the best approach and maybe not so profitable. We want to close it out fairly quickly after the breakout occurs. This is why we only have 2 targets here. Once they're both hit, we close out the trade. So for example, here we had a long entry, we hit our first target shortly after, and we hit the second target at this point here. This indicator also comes with a trailing stop. So for example, you can see it here. It's written out in the commentary. We currently have a long position. You can see it here. So we entered long here. We hit our target just recently. And we can also see in the commentary that we set our stop loss at this point at $79.56, which is somewhere around here. So we're still on this trade. We didn't get stopped out, but it's a trailing stop. So you might be wondering, okay, if it's at 79, shouldn't we have gotten stopped out here? Not necessarily, because as price moves in the direction that we want, we are tightening our trailing stop. So this is very particular to this indicator. And this indicator personally is my favorite one because it fits very nicely my trading style. I like to, take trades and close them out rather quickly. This has the big benefit of, first of all, taking risk off the market because you're not in that trade anymore. But secondly, having a relatively close profit target also leads to the fact that you have typically a much higher success rate than the opposite. For example, if your target is very far away, perhaps your stop is very near, then your success rate might not be so high. You might still be profitable because your winners will outpace your losers, but your success rate will be quite low. And psychologically speaking, this might not be the right approach for you. For me, it's not. This is why I like this indicator the best because, it has a really high percentage here. We can see it's at 91%. So 9 out of 10 trades are winners for this particular example. It just feels good to have multiple winners in a row. Okay. So this was 1 to 3 strike. Now, I hope I could just give you an idea of how our indicators work, but we're not done yet. So let me quickly go back to my slides. All right, so what's next? So hopefully you were able to see that, statistics are useful because they will allow you to make informed trading decisions. Sometimes they will encourage you to take a trade if the odds are in your favor. Sometimes they will, not encourage you, they will prevent you from taking a bad trade, which is just as important because, as mentioned before, sometimes not taking a trade is the best trading advice that you can get. But there's one more thing, what these odds are really useful for. They will allow you to find the best parameters for your indicators to use. So just like any other indicator, like the moving average indicator or the RSI indicator or the stochastics indicator, also our indicators come with parameters, which can be changed. And once you change them, it will, change the signals of the indicator. But how do we know which parameters are the best? And, trying these out manually, changing a couple of parameters, reapplying the indicator to the chart, checking out what the signals are, well, that's tedious. But luckily now we do have our statistics, which will give you instant feedback of how well a parameter change has been working out. But yet, doing all these things manually is a little bit challenging for most traders and investors. And more importantly, it is super, super tedious. At least for me, change a parameter, see if it improved the statistics or not. If doing this manually over and over again for every symbol that you're considering and for every time frame that you're considering, oh man, this is just taking too much time. And more importantly, it will prevent you from focusing on trading. You're just going to fiddle around with the parameters in the hope to find the best combination of them to dial the indicator into the symbol as good as possible. But this is super tedious. And if it's too tedious, chances are you will, first of all, not do it. Or secondly, it will distract you from your actual job, taking good trades. Now, we have come with a solution for this, which we call auto optimization. This is just with this new generation, which we just published today for the first time, we have integrated into our MetaStock Power Bundle version an auto optimization feature, which, as the name suggests, will find the best parameters for you. So that you don't have to do it. You no longer need to manually fiddle around with the parameters. The indicator will do it for you. All right. I hope this sounds exciting. May I show you how this works? So let me quickly go back to the Power Bundle 360. And in this case, I'm going to go back to our latest generation. So what you've seen so far was the older version. Now let me reveal to you, a bit of suspense, the latest generation of our Power Bundle. So back to the chart. All right. And I'm going to start with our first symbol. If you remember, we had a symbol with Align Technology where 1, 2, 3 strike was applied. And here we can see that our long efficiency was at 63% and our short efficiency was at 73%. And this was generated based on the default configuration of this indicator. And if you're wondering what is the default configuration, it's actually quite easy to see. You simply go to the Functions tab up here. Just drag down the dialog. You go down to our Power Bundle 360 and you go to the 1, 2, 3 strike settings indicator. You double click on it and it will show you which values for the parameters of the indicators have been used. For example, here you can see that for the volume period parameter, a value of 34 was used. For volatility period, it was 7. Long axis 4, and so forth. So these were the default parameters, and the statistics were generated based on these parameters. But of course, the question is, are there perhaps better parameters to use for this indicator so you get better results? That's a valid question. And as I mentioned before, previously, what you need to do is to manually change them, reapply the indicator to the chart to see if it improved anything. Well, this is no longer needed. Let me show you how. So for this, I'm going to remove this old indicator from the chart. I'm going to detach it. And I will now apply our latest version of the indicator. So attach. I'm going to go to Power Bundle. Power Bundle 360. I'm going to apply 1, 2, 3 strike AO to it. And AO, if you're wondering, stands for auto optimization. So I'm going to apply it and it will now recalculate the indicator. And just let's focus on the odds first once it's recalculated. So let me scroll down. It looks a little bit different here in the commentary, but you can see now that our statistics have improved to 95% on the long direction and 79% in the short direction in our optimization period and across the entire chart, which also includes out of sample data, which was not considered during the optimization. Our efficiencies have improved to 78% and 74%. Wow, this is great. So which configuration was used for this? Which parameters were determined to give us these results? Well, we can see them here. So in this optimization, we determined that for volume period, which is one of our parameters, a value of 15 was optimal. For volatility period, also 15. For fast MA period, 15, and so forth. So this was determined automatically. And the way we've done it is by trying out all kinds of configuration. In this case, 144 configurations were tried out to come up with these results. And you may say, oh, only 144, that doesn't sound a lot. Good point. This is because we used our simplified optimization mode here. And in fact, we have built in 3 different optimization modes. Simplified is the fastest one, which will try out around 155 configurations. The second fastest one, or the second most comprehensive one, is called Standard, which will try out around 500 combinations. And we have Exhaustive, which will try out around more than 1,000 different combinations for this particular indicator. And depending on what your preference is, you can either choose between Simplified, Standard, or Exhaustive. But of course, if you use the Exhaustive one, for example, it will take just a bit longer to apply the indicator to the chart because more computing is needed to figure out what is the best configuration. Okay, so this was a 1, 2, 3 strike. Well, let me go back to our next example, which is Divergence Cloud. We had it applied to First Republic Bank. This is the old indicator, so let's apply now the new one to it. And here, please note that our old statistics were at 78% across the board. So I'm going to go to Expert Advisors. I will detach it, and I will now apply our new version, which is called Divergence Cloud AO. All right, it's the latest version, AO for auto optimization. I will apply it to the chart, and after a few seconds, it will be calculated. And now we can see that the optimized version of the Vergence Cloud has been applied. And if we scroll down, we can see here what were the settings that were deemed to be optimal. And we can also see what were the statistics in our optimization period. And again, you can see that these have increased because now more optimal parameters have been used for this particular indicator. All right, great. So maybe just one more example. Let me go to our Archer-Daniels indicator. It's loading up. And again, I will remove it from the chart. I will remove the old version and reapply the new version to it. It's called Volatility Crusher AO, as you may have guessed. I will apply it to the chart. And again, after a few seconds, you will see the optimization results. As you can see here, we had fewer trades, which may make sense because the indicator now has become more selective and only took the trades which had the highest odds of succeeding. And we can see that, well, in our look back period, we had a success rate of 93% for long and 100% for short trades. And across all bars, which also include, as mentioned before, out of sample bars, which were not considered during the optimization, we had a success rate of almost 90% across the board. So quite impressive. All right. So I hope you can understand or you see the potential of having auto optimization available to you. Now, if you don't, you might ask yourself the question, well, auto optimization, is there curve fitting involved? It has this bad flavor to it that with optimization you may introduce curve fitting where you optimize for an historical period and it may not work out moving forward. This is why in our expert commentary, we always also give you the out of sample statistics, which are the statistics which include optimized bars and non-optimized bars. And ideally, you want to see the statistics out of sample fairly similar to the ones used during the optimization. All right, so just to sum up, our Power Bundle 360 in its latest generation comes with 3 indicators, 1, 2, 3 strike, Divergence Cloud, and Volatility Crusher. Each of these indicators will give you clear entry signals, but they will also give you exit suggestions because, once you're in a trade, you need to manage it. You need to eventually close it out. Our indicators will work on any time frame. They work for any asset class, so be it stocks, ETFs, Forex, cryptos, futures. They will run everywhere, and they will run on every chart type and time frame. So whether you are a swing trader or a day trader or a scalper or an investor, you can use these indicators. They also come with our real-time statistics, which will show you either on the chart or either in the expert commentary what were the historical success rates of the long and short entry signals, which will help you to make truly informed trading decisions. And now, with our latest generation, we also included auto optimization, which is a feature which will determine the best parameters for you. It will do the heavy lifting for you. And I believe this is a humongous time saver so that you don't have to fiddle around with the parameters. It will just be chosen for you so you can focus on your trading. Okay, now one more thing to cover. It is also very exciting, and this will also show to you how I came up with the trade of the day, with the 4th trade, which I showed originally in the beginning of the presentation. And the question is, we've seen the indicator applied to a couple of charts. That's nice. Okay, look quite okay. But how do we know which symbols currently have signals? How do we know this? Well, I could either apply my indicators to all the different symbols I'm interested in, which is again very tedious, or I could use the Metastock scanner. Metastock is super powerful when it comes to scanning. It's probably the most powerful scanning tool, at least the one that I'm aware of. And why not leverage the Metastock scanner? Okay, so let's do this. So back to our Metastock installation, and let me drag in now a different window. All right, so we have it here. And what I've done here, before I start this presentation, I had run a couple of scans using Metastock based on our power bundle indicators. And in fact, I've ran exactly 6 scans, as you can see here. And the beauty about Metastock is, well, first of all these scans are predefined for you. So they come with the package. So if you get the Power Bundle 360 for Metastock, all these scans, all these system explorations, they are built into it. So you don't have to define it yourself. That's already cool. But the other cool thing about Metastock is that you can batch automate all these scans. So what I've done this morning, I just defined all these 6 scans. I put them together into a Metastock job. I clicked start. Half an hour later, I came back. They were all completed without any intervention by me, just automatically. I could just now focus on the results. So let's have a look at one of these scan results. So let's see what this first scan is all about. This first scan was done on the 1, 2, 3 strike indicator, and it was a scan performed to see which symbols currently have a long or a short entry signal. And just to give you a bit more context about this scan, I more or less used the S&P 500 stocks and a couple of Dow Jones stocks and NASDAQ stocks as my scan universe. So roughly 600, 700 stocks were scanned through, and here are the results. So for 1, 2, 3 strike, we can see the results here. And the first 2 columns after the name are long signal or short signal. When long signal has a 1 in the scan results, if I sort by this, it means this stock currently has a long entry signal at the last bar. And if it has a 1 next to the short signal column, it means this signal currently does have a short entry signal. Now, let's have a look at some of these signals here. So let me sort by long entry signal. We can see that we had quite a few signals, probably like 20, 30 signals. Now, the next question is, well, we have 30 signals. Which one should I focus on? Well, good question. We have an answer to this because we include in our scan results directly for you to see what are the historical success rates for the long and short entry signals. So you can see it right here. There's no need to open up the chart first. You will first, you will see it right in the scan results. So for example, here we could see for, let me just pick one here. Let's see Caesars Entertainment, which currently has a long signal. We can see that in the optimization period, we had 90% success rate for the long signals and 80% success rate for the short signals. And for the entire bars on the chart, which also includes out of sample data, we had a success rate of 78% for the long direction and 76% of the short direction. This is exactly what I meant previously. Here, our long optimized statistics and the overall statistics are quite close. And this is what I would like to see, because this gives me an indication that this optimization did not do any curve fitting, because out of sample and in sample data are quite similar. And this is what I'd like to see. So let's open up this chart. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to open this chart. Hopefully this will open up. Let me just go here. There we go. It's open, and we can see that indeed we did have, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Oh, and I think we just get an alert. No, there we go. And indeed, we can see here that we did have, just close the expert commentary for 1 second. We did have an entry signal at the end of yesterday's daily bar. And we could have taken this trade here, this long entry trade. And so you can see here, we already did have a nice market follow through when the market opened this morning. So this is, as you can see, the trade, the scan result gave me a stock which currently has a long entry signal. And now what I can also do is I can verify by looking at my expert commentary that the statistics in the scan results will match up the statistics on the chart. And if you scroll down here, we can see that indeed we did have a long efficiency of 90%, just like the scan results showed you. And out of sample, we had 78% in the long direction. So they were quite similar. And this could be a trade that I might want to consider taking. Perhaps a reason why I may not want to take this trade is because it's right near this resistance zone to the upside, which perhaps limits the upside potential of this trade. But nonetheless, the follow through today is quite encouraging. This could be a trade that you might want to consider. I've identified this trade by doing an automated scan using Metastock for our power bundle indicators for 1, 2, 3 strike in this case, and by consulting these statistics here, which was super fast because I could identify this trade in a couple of minutes. And you can do this for any of the other indicators in our bundle. You can do this for Divergence Cloud, and you can do this also for Volatility Crusher. Now,
Daniel,
yes.
Could I interject for a sec? I have a really interesting question here from Dugan. What kind of results would we see if we apply all 3 indicators to only 1 symbol instead of 3 symbols for 3 indicators?
I'm not sure I completely understand this question, but for sure you can apply, so Metastock, what you would need to do, and I hope I understand this question correctly, you can only apply 1 expert per chart. So that's the limitation of Metastock. So right now here we have 1, 2, 3 strike applied. I cannot attach, or maybe I can. No, I believe it replaces it. I cannot attach another indicator to it. So it's just one expert advisor per chart. I hope this answers the question. I'm not sure if it does, but perhaps.
I think the question is more around the lines of what is the difference between taking the results from 1 indicator versus 3 indicators?
Okay, so
for multiple symbols.
Right. Well, again, I hope I understand this question correctly. So let's say you had a symbol where both Divergence Cloud and 1, 2, 3 strike would give you an entry signal, or would have long entries within a very short period of time. This to me would be an extra conviction that for this particular symbol, there's more confluence and more conviction that the trade will work out because both 2 indicators will give you a similar signal. So we call this confluence. And if this happens, this is stronger evidence that this trade may work out. Any other questions, Hoa?
No, that's good for now. Thanks.
Okay, great. All right, so let me quickly go back to my slides because I'm slowly running out of time as well. And let me just mention something else. So what you've seen here actually is what we call generation 3 scanning. What do I mean by this? And just to make it very clear of what we've accomplished here. So generation 1 scanning is what most people do. They apply the same settings for your scan, so the same indicator settings will be used for your scan, and you see all the entry signals or for short and long trades with no differentiation of whether, historically speaking, these signals had worked out or not. Just get long entries and short entry signals. That's it, and the same configuration was used. Generation 2 pushes this one step further. We've seen this here as well, where along with the scan results, you also see how well, historically speaking, these signals have been working out, allowing you as a trader to differentiate between different signals, between different symbols, and trying to find the ones which are most promising. Because you as a trader would focus on the ones which, historically speaking, would have worked out or did work out the best. Why wouldn't you? But then we actually pushed it one step further, which we call generation 3 scanning. Because what we've done here, just to make it very crystal clear, we have performed a scan where for each symbol in our scanning universe, a different and optimal parameterization was used. So instead of using the same parameter settings for each symbol, which is kind of a one-size-fits-all approach, which might not be ideal, we actually have used, with our optimization technology, the optimal configuration for every symbol. Basically, or in other words, we have used a different parameterization for every symbol to come up with signals for a particular symbol which were generated based on an optimal parameterization. And we call this generation 3 scanning. I hope this made sense. Perhaps I can at some point explain a bit more, but this is really a new level of scanning and precision scanning what we have accomplished here. And this was possible because of our optimization feature, and secondly, because of Metastock's very powerful scanning utility. All right, so mentioning or talking about Metastock, our indicators are built and optimized for Metastock. Not only will they give you crystal clear entry and exit signals, they will also give you real-time statistics directly in the expert commentary. And now we also have optimization. But with our Power Bundle 360, you will also get predefined explorations, which will show you which symbols currently have open trades or which symbols currently have a new entry signal. So you have different explorations for this. And on top of all this, we also include system tests, which are basically automated back tests and optimizations or system test optimizations for Metastock, all predefined for you. Now, if you're wondering, are these indicators for me? Well, then perhaps ask yourself the question, are you a trader or an investor who believes in using intelligent and advanced tools to make better trading decisions? If your answer is yes, then I believe these indicators will be suitable for you. If you're an trader or investor who wants to have an easier life, I'm one of them, for sure, then also these indicators will be for you, because with the auto optimization, you no longer have to fiddle around with the parameters. And as mentioned before, this is a huge time saver. And finally, if you want to get better trading results or portfolio results, I believe these indicators will also help you. Now, real quick, back to my trade. Why did I identify Ford? I know I'm running out of time, Jeffrey, so I'm going to come to the conclusion now. Why did I pick Ford? Very easy. I used the exact same recipe. I'm just going to quickly go back one more time to my scan results. Of the scan results, I considered the 1 to 3 strike results. And we can see here that Ford Motors does have a long entry signal, which was identified by the scan. I did like a lot the statistics, which were very close to each other. So the in-sample statistics match very close to the out-of-sample statistics. And when looking at the chart, and maybe I'm just going to quickly go back one more time to my Metastock chart, if I can find it. There we go. And if I open up Ford, I like this trade because once this opens up, it has some room to the upside. So I believe the next resistance level is around here. This is where I put my target, around $16. And I put my stop at this support level here, which were price bounced up once. And I believe risk reward is fairly close to each other. It's around 1 to 1. There's some room to the upside. I do like the statistics. So this would be my trade of the day, identified mainly through using our Power Bundle 360 and the powerful Metastock scanner. All right. So that's the trade I might be considering taking right now after this presentation. And well, this wraps it up. I'll just maybe perhaps mention, and Jeffrey, if you want to take over, that we do offer the Power Bundle with auto optimization for Metastock for life at the price of $9.95. And this bundle will include auto optimization. It will include our IET statistics. In the expert commentary, you get, of course, 1 to 3 strike, divergence cloud, and volatility crusher. And on top of all this, you will get pretty cool training goodies, which we call it, which is our ebook on how our notion of divergence works. We do have a masterclass recorded that you will get, and in our tech talks, which happen every second Friday, you will get all the ins and outs about how to really use the indicators with Metastock, how to get the most out of it. All right, Jeffrey.
You ready for some questions?
I am, if you have time, yes.
Yeah. Well, let's go quick. Daniel, let's see. Actually, I don't see it. We did have a question. Raj in the YouTube chat wanted to know, how can you control emotion in live trading? So do you have any advice around that?
Oh, yeah. See, yes, for me, if I'm getting emotional about a trade, the answer is very simple. I risk too much. My position size is too big. Every single trade I take, I use a position size where I'm comfortable with it. So basically, I have no emotions. It's small enough where it doesn't affect me.
Cool. And then let's see. We had a question earlier, and I don't know who it was asked it, but do they recommend that when you get a signal out of one of your methodologies, would you recommend that you buy it on the next day's open, on the current bar's close? Is there a recommendation around that you have?
Yeah, if it's on a daily chart, what I would do is first of all, I would get the signal once the market is closed, so I can't take it at this point. And I would not put a market order for the next day in. I would still, first of all, see if there's any gaps the next day, either to the up or downside, which might prevent me from taking this trade or disqualify this trade. So I would always wait until the market opens, see where it opened, see how far I've left to my profit targets and my stop loss, and then I would consider this trade.
Thank you for that.
I would not place it overnight.
Jeffrey, there's a few other questions I have in there. Is there time for me to ask Daniel?
I was about to ask him about the volatility crusher stop.
Right.
Tugan wants to know, is it true that volatility crusher indicator provides a trading stop?
Yeah, that's true. It comes with a trading
Okay.
stop, which is tightened as the trade works out, so to lock in profits.
Lisa wants to know if this program can be used to find dark pool or institutional buying. Thanks for the question, Lisa.
It's not designed around those notions. It's based on price action and volume, but I believe institutional buying is reflected in price action since our increased volume and our indicators are based on these two concepts. So indirectly, yes.
Okay. Olu wants to know if this can benefit new traders.
Yes, because it makes it so easy. So if you're lost and don't know what to trade, I think using our statistics will give you the guidance that you need to disqualify trades or qualify trades which you're comfortable with, because you have the backup from our statistics, and with the scanner and MetaStock, also have the tool to quickly identify stocks which have signals, and then you can rank those signals based on their statistics, which will allow you to focus only on the ones with the best statistics.
All right. He wants to know also if it'll work with derivatives like futures, ETFs, volatility indexes, those type. Can you apply to any instrument?
Anything that has price action can be used with our indicators. Yeah, it does make a difference. We have a lot of clients on other platforms which trade futures, for example, with our indicators.
All right. And then last question, have you carried out studies that incorporated intraday patterns? This is,
yeah, so all our research is based on, so these indicators don't discriminate between intraday or the daily time frame. But the patterns are similar, so you can see patterns during intraday, which also occur on the daily time frame, and our indicators are designed to take advantage of reoccurring patterns, and then take an entry signal if there's some historical evidence that after a certain pattern, price moved in one direction or the other.
All right, and let's see. And the other thing is, with the tester, you can go in and test and see if there's a particular time period that you want to see what stocks work best with it as well. So Amit wants to know, and I think this is I promise the last question was the last, but this one for sure. Amit wants to know, does it limit learning if you're using ready-made indicators?
Jeffrey, repeat this. I think you cut off for 1 second, please.
Does using a ready-made indicator limit learning? I have an opinion on this.
No, because you will learn through experience no matter what. But I believe, especially if you're starting out, you can easily be overwhelmed by what's already out there. So this may actually prohibit you from getting a grasp of the market. So our indicators, they reduce the learning curve of how to get into the market. And I disagree with that statement. They were not prohibited.
As somebody that started with a ready-made indicator, not this one, of course, because that was decades ago. I'd say it actually helped with the process. It was a lot. For me personally, it was nice to have something that was, it's nice to have something that works for one thing. Ellis wants to know, he says, I trade options. Will this system be good for options trading?
Yeah, because they will give you the future price direction, or predict for future price direction, which you can then use to structure your option trade around.
And Michael wants to know if the auto-optimizing indicators are available now for MetaStock.
Yes. As of today, as I mentioned, this is exciting. An exciting day for us. We've worked so hard to get it ready for today, and they are all tested throughout the entire last 2 weeks. We're so happy with the results. It's unbelievable how well they work together with MetaStock and how awesome they work in the scanners. I'm always amazed about MetaStock's scanning capabilities, and now we have a really good combination of the two, auto optimization and scanning. Yeah,
I'm really, really impressed by how much you're working on this indicator and how many updates you've provided already. I think you're doing a great job over there. I appreciate it.
And talking about this, Jeffrey, maybe one last comment. So, because you talked about the upgrades, and this is mainly thanks to our awesome users, because they use our indicators for their trading, and they have suggestions. Say, Daniel, why don't you add this feature or this feature? And we do always listen, because this is the feedback that drives our development. And this optimization feature, for example, comes directly from user feedback who requested it. And if it's possible, and if we find it useful, then we're going to implement it.